anticipate. Same dive.
Time we're getting a look at some of these athletes. Front 2.5 pike, similar to her teammate here. Good timing, plenty of time to reach for the water. Similar though, kind of lets it over-rotate.
It's in 2 6.5s. Competitors getting in the zone. Ayazi we saw in warm-up, she was grooving around, moving up there. She was just getting loose for this dive.
Inward trip on her hand when she hit the water. I'm surprised by that splash. A lot of times a splash might be a little too much because you're not hitting the water perpendicular like you need to, perfectly straight on. Her shoulders and her head needed to be tight and squeezed, and something was missing there for her to get that splash.
51 so far. Now granted, we're not even halfway through the diving that we'll see across the course of the week here. Haven't seen enough.
Yeah, not yet. It's gotta be something special for somebody to throw out a 9. All's here. Timing on coming out of that tuck is just not where it needed to be. She reached for the water a little too early, needed to hold on a hair sooner, or splash coming off of her back and her shoulders because she landed it short of where she needed to.
5 and 2 scores as well. Ayazi, her first 2.5 somersault tuck. DD is 2.8.
Probably a 6.5, 7 maybe, we'll see. Excellent in the air. Hair over rotated right here while she's hitting the water, which is where that
6.5, 2 7s puts her at 190. On that last dive. It was nice too.
back 1.5. Now this was a really good looking dive, but it was also a very simple dive. So with the degree of difficulty of a 2.4, it needs pretty high scores from all of these judges. In
longer period of time than the other competitors on the diving board. Preparing is Ayazi.
Her hurdle, but doesn't seem to impact her at all on this. Really great takeoff, perfect distance from the diving board. Maybe a little, but really great way to round out this event.
307.50, so here we go. Pelicani.
Big difference here.
37.5 is a solid score based on what we've seen from the judges across the course of the week thus far. So our joy, Ayazi, who we have seen compete twice.
Twist. Later on throughout the competition, actually the next round, you're going to see her add an entire twist to this. So kind of kicking things off with a dive she's very comfortable with. Really solid here. Maybe if
now back to 5 judges, which we had lost 2 last night.
Instances, a lot of the things he focuses on is going to be the takeoff. It's going to be the position in the air. How she kind of came out of the dive and reached for the water is what dictates that entry a lot of times. So just kind of giving her some feedback on what it looked like. You want to bank that and get ready for your next dive, quite honestly.
Ayazi's second dive.
Said she was going to be doing the same dive as round 1, but adding an entire twist here. So right here you have 2 full twists. Reaches for the water, just doesn't quite get her body tight enough when she hits.
2 5.5s and a 644.2. Ayazi forward 2.5 somersault pike.
Oh, unfortunately, she's a little bit off. Really needed to get more out of it, but her timing was off, so she never really got into a great pike and rotation. So right here, she's hitting the water, just doesn't land straight up and down, and this sort of under rotation is going to be a...
Reflected 4.5 twice on platform thus far in 2020 and 2022. So figure to see her in that competition tomorrow as Ayazi, a 403B.
Maybe from some of the other divers, we've seen a little bit more height in this dive, but the distance is perfect. She's standing up over her toes. Nobody wants to be too close to the dive. 7.5. Probably her best dive, so to kind of keep her in striking distance.
Yeah, this one really wide open. We talked about 3 Olympians coming into this, Schnell and her prowess, but she's left the door open. Bridget O'Neill has been the steadiest, reason why she's leading the...
A little bit short. You see her coach there, probably going to give her a little bit of critique in terms of not just on this takeoff and kind of really getting the speed and momentum, but she came out of that pike a hair too early. Going to be landing perfectly vertical.
Ayazi will close out her day with a 303B.
And that's where she struggled in some of her other dives. Just didn't quite get the rhythm off of the diving board in order to get in and get the momentum and speed. Here, on the other hand, beautiful hurdle and takeoff. Just doesn't reaches for the water, little too late, and lets it over-rotate.
Ayazi, we saw in warm-up, she was moving around, moving up there. She was just getting loose for this dive.
That splash. A lot of times a splash might be a little too much because you're not hitting the water perpendicular like you need to, perfectly straight on. Her shoulders and her head need to be tight and squeeze, and something was missing there for her to get.